horror, suspense, everything is there. It has even more than the first one. In fact, I think I like it more than the first one. It's a little bit longer than the first, but damn. The characters and everything based off of real life people, the actors do a fantastic job, especially the one who plays Janet. I had no idea she wasn't even British in real life. That's how good she was. And of course they're going to stretch a few things, like with the Crooked Man and Valak, which I have heard are fabricated a bit, but what do you expect, people? It's a Hollywood horror film. It's very typical, accept it for what it is. The performances are great, and it's not just horror, you really feel for your main character right here, and that's what makes the film so great. It's not just typical cliche jump scares, it's effective jump scares along with great characters and great amount of suspense, as well as getting to know them. So, yeah, James Wan does a fantastic job with that, and it's a shame that The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, why'd you have to drop out of directing it? Anyway, yeah, this is a great sequel. If you enjoyed the first, you can't miss this one. Number 2, Silence of the Lambs. Again, you didn't know this was a sequel? Well, once again, you do now. And it's a sequel to a 1986 movie called Manhunter, where Hannibal Lecter is played by Brian Cox. It was an okay movie, and I can see why it was met with mixed reactions, but then when this film came around, oh boy, there ain't much to say there. This was the one that was the real deal, especially when it came to the Oscars, winning a handful of them, including Best Picture. I mean, Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, you couldn't go wrong there. He does a fantastic job, as well as Jodie Foster as our main character who's trying to track down and find another guy who kidnaps women named Buffalo Bill and uses their skin, and he's a pretty sick man, in other words. He's mysterious and you don't see him very much, but in order to be able to find him, she has to obviously go and talk to this guy, Hannibal Lecter. He's a very seemingly charming looking man, you know, he's well-mannered, but he's very manipulative at the same time, because what do you expect with a guy who goes from psychiatrist to basically cannibal? I mean, he's locked behind a glass prison. There ain't much to say there. And he manipulates people through talk. He does a fantastic job for the most part, and, well, all I could say is Oscar well-deserved there on that one. And the more and more times they talk to one another, the more and more you really get into the story. Yeah, there's a lot of dialogue and everything like that. There's a lot of great suspense, and each time, of course, Buffalo Bill captures more people, you just want him to get caught by the authorities. I mean, that's what the whole film is about. And she goes above and beyond to try to catch him as much as possible. There's even scenes where Hannibal Lecter, of course, gets let go, but it still remains in police custody. I mean, wow. That was signature right there. I mean, that was a trademark look for his character, and there ain't much to say. This film is fantastic in every way possible, and it's just kind of a shame they had to keep making sequel after sequel, which none of them will ever live up to this legacy. I mean, this is a Hollywood hit film that could not be missed for any reason. And the best horror film sequel ever made, at least in my opinion, The Bride of Frankenstein. Yes, the sequel to the all-time original black and white classic Frankenstein, which we can all agree is timeless. The atmosphere, the character himself, Frankenstein, he's still alive. And this one is just as, if not even better. Taking the necessary step forward and giving Frankenstein a bride, it seemed like a gamble at the time. I mean, people did not think much of this when hearing about this. I mean, would you really think that a sequel like this could do just as good? No. And, man, what a surprise. I mean, if it made it at this spot on the list, yeah, it did just as good. And in some spots, even better. I mean, the dark atmosphere, the style, the performances, it just has that gritty, old-school style, classic Universal feel that nothing can ever top as the greatest. I mean, what more can you say? If you've never seen it before, and if you've seen the original, or even haven't seen the original, these are the films you have to see. Aside from the original Dracula, aside from any of the classic Universal horror films, this one, in my opinion, is one of, if not, one of the greatest Universal horror monster sequels of all time. I mean, give that monster a bride, and throw in some more style, horror, and some humor in there, and you got yourself a fantastic sequel, And that is why it is number one, at least in my opinion, the best horror film sequel of all time. So, that's my list right there, people. Comment, like, do whatever you want, but remember, it's just my opinion. So, until next time, keep watching.